Hi, this is Sally Wood for Being Inspired. I'm going to show you how to create a flowing, eclectic look using 4 different style chairs. In the first video, I'm going to be doing these 2 chairs. These are loose seats. They unscrew from the bottom and the chair seat lifts up. For this loose chair project, you will need a staple gun of some kind with staples. I've got a 1/4 inch at the moment, and I will probably be using 1/2 inch, but I'll see how that all goes. You will need a hammer and a tack remover. If you do not have a tack remover, do not worry. You can use a flat-headed screwdriver, which works just as well. You'll need to have some kind of pliers so that you can pull out any of the loose bits of metal. I have here a double-sided screwdriver. You find with older chairs that sometimes they have flathead or Phillips head screws in them, so that's why I usually have one of those. A pair of scissors, yours, and a pen for marking any numbers out that I need. I have here a tape measure so that I can wrap around and take measurements. I have 1/4 of an inch piping cord just to make everything pull together, and I also have here back tacking or a tacking strip. This is just a 1/2 inch piece of cardboard. If you don't have any, don't worry. Just cut up a box like a cereal box, and because cereal box is a little bit narrower, just put 2 layers on top of each other, but just make sure your cuts are as straight as possible, and I'll show you how to put that in later. You also need a yardstick or a meter rule. My customer has chosen 2 fabrics. This one is going to be for the piping, and I'll show you how to make piping up. It feels like it could be a cotton polyester, but you put on whatever you want, and in later videos I will be showing you how to apply different fabrics for different uses in piping. And then she has also chosen this rather funky linen union. It's hard wearing. It has on it a pleated design, which means that I'm going to have to match all of the chairs together, and in this film and the next film I will be showing you how to do that and make them look really smart. Place the chair on a secure surface and remove the screws. Lift up the chair, which is not happening in this case. Sometimes you need to use a torch to see what's going on, and in this case there's a screw right down the bottom. If you have trouble, put your fingers underneath the frame and just carry on working at it. Remove the chair frame, and the screws should fall out. I will show you how to remove the staples. Always try to preserve your hands. They get very tired otherwise. Place the chair seat in front of you. I usually have it with the side I'm working on away from my body and hard up against my legs. And then I use my hammer if I need to, and my tack remover to remove the tacks, or in this case staples. And actually it doesn't look like these are very well put on, so I might be able to just, there we go, pop those underneath like that and work around all 4 sides. One doesn't come out, you use your pliers, just pop it in and roll the pliers, don't pull, always roll, always use your tools to do the work. And this has 2 layers, and there's some extra staples that need to come out. Now the only thing I've noted so far with this particular chair that needs to be looked at once these covers have been removed is the foam. It really doesn't feel good. I've worked all the way around this chair, and the top cover is loose, and now the second. There we go. Now, years ago, I was told by an elderly upholsterer that all good upholsterers remove everything. So I'm looking at it here, and there's just these 4 staples that need to come out. I've got my seat, which looks pretty okay for keeping, and then they've got 2 pieces of foam, which I do not intend to keep. That is very old foam, it's probably a fire risk, and is worth changing out. This will have a different set of problems. Oh, this is interesting. It's webbed, but these webs are actually on the wrong side, and we'll discuss why later. So I'm going to start removing the staples as before, like this. As I unwrap this, I discover that yes, I was right initially. This has been put in upside down. You can tell where the previous upholsterer, or maybe it was somebody in the house, has left all of the chair in place. So that's going to have to be removed. I'm going to put that over there because that can be reused. And then as I'm going through as I'm rubbing my hands across the top, I can actually feel some staples that have been left in, not from this job but from another. And I'm just going to pull those out. The ones that I cannot pull out, I will actually hammer back in. They could tear up the foam, rip your hands as you're working on the project. So always try to make sure that everything is either removed, and if it can't be removed, that you hammer it in. And now, because this is such an interesting job, not the way I would have done it, I now have to remove the original cover, and that's very important. Just get rid of what you don't need. It's a bit messed up, but I think it's probably been done a couple of times. I'll just run my fingers around, make sure there's nothing really. I hadn't realised was it 2 pieces. This was the original piece they had fitted on there, and this was the second one that they'd redone it with. So I think I have enough foam to replace on both chair seats. I have my foam, and I have put the base of one of the chairs on top, and I am going to draw around this chair seat, allowing about ½ an inch, quarter of an inch to ½ an inch. I'm going to allow ½ an inch on this one, all the way around, top and bottom and the sides of the chair. So sometimes it's easier just to angle your pen. This chair seat has a curve here along the edge. At the top of the curve is for the foam to go on. So I'm actually going to draw this one out upside down, and I'm going to just roll this down the side slightly out, allowing for the foam allowance round the side of the chair. I'm going to show you how to cut them out. The easiest way of cutting foam out, or shapes out of foam, is to use an electric carving knife. You can use a serrated knife, but it's a little bit slower and a little bit more awkward. What I do is I place the foam with about an inch overhang across the table, and then turning it on, I try to keep it as level as I can up and round, so it's vertical, up and down, and I'll start off with with it being more upright, and then I'll drag it through. So here goes, let's see how we do. I've found that if I let this follow the line that I'm cutting, I can then look on one side, sort of on the outside, and keep an eye on how the direction is going. Hold on to this so it doesn't flop around after a while, and then you should get a nice smooth finish coming to here. If it's a little bit jumpy, don't worry, that's all taken care of when we put the fabric together. And there we have our first piece. It's not quite even, but it's even enough. Go to the corner, pop it about an inch over the edge. It just holds everything firmly in place. The shape is coming on nicely. There's a second way you can do the cutting of the foam if you feel confident enough. You put it up on its end, line up the teeth with the line that you have drawn. Try to keep it as square on as possible, and then just cut on down. With this one you need to hold on to the top, just it holds everything firm. This shaping will be pushed away when we put the dacron or polyester wrap over it, so don't worry too much about that. Here we go, another one. We now have our chair seats and the foam that's going to go on them. There's a little thing I need to show you on this one, and then basically from there on it's going to be identical putting them together. This has elasticated webbing which after a while starts to give and stretch, so the person is going to sink down into the chair seat. So what I like to do is put a piece of fabric on. I've put the initial staple in, and now I'm going to line the warp and weft threads, which are the strongest threads, up, down and across. Okay, so like this. Pull a little bit to one side while I put this front in. So we have the front here. I'm going to pull this towards me slightly. I'm going to do the back. So I've done all the front. It doesn't have to be pretty, just on there. I'm going to line it up with the back end of the table. I'm just going to pull down like this all the way across. So it might take a little while to pull it all into place, but that's going to put a bit of tension there. Do it. Don't just pull down to the back, pull across to the side. It's just going to put the sides in. So I'm going to pull again to the back of the table like this. You need to trim the fabric to about an inch to an inch and a half away from your staples, just like that. And the best fabric to use is actually a cotton or a hessian, something that's going to hold. Even a denim will do. And then we fold that over and staple down again. You don't need too many staples, just hold it in place. Just cut them back slightly so they are folding nicely. There you go. And it's not too bulky. Place the seat down with the foam on top, and then I'm going to lay the dacron on top of that. Okay, and usually what I do is I get it so it's almost touching the surface of the table, and then I will roughly cut it. Doesn't have to be pretty, just cut. And now for the second. I'm going to take measurements from the biggest chair seat. The base is slightly taller, even though the foam is the same depth and the dacron is the same thickness. And at the widest point, I'm going to measure loosely across the front. And widthways, that comes to about, comes to 30 inches. And the same front and back. I'm going to just rest it on the table and to the back 27 inches. So I'm going to cut out 2 pieces of fabric at about 32 by 29. I'll have a look and see what the pattern looks like on. When I measured up earlier for this fabric, I discovered that I didn't have enough, so I actually had to nip up the road for the client and get her another piece of fabric, which isn't quite the same shade but close enough. And the pattern repeat is slightly off as well, but not too much. So what I'm going to do is show you how we can make 2 separate fabrics look very similar. I know that I need at least 27 inches for the width, which is there. It's usually halfway up the fabric. I know the pattern isn't going to follow through all the way across, but that's okay. So I'm going to do exactly the same on the other piece of fabric. The other problem, because it's 2 separate pieces of fabric that we're going to find, is they might not match the pattern up and down. So I'm going to lay this piece of fabric out, and I'm going to lay 1 piece of the original fabric out on top, and we will discover, oh no, both of these fabrics are at least a yard long, and we only needed 30 inches, so we can cut them down quite easily to match. And what I'm going to do here is lay this one on top of here like this, and I'm going to match the pattern all the way along. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to be close enough. And there we go. That's close enough. We've got the leaves coming up, the loop going round here and here. So now all I'm going to do, I'm actually going to straighten it out slightly. I'm going to put the original fabric underneath, because that's the longest piece now. Flatten it out. The piece that I've just trimmed up, I'm going to lay on top to the bottom there, and then this top part just has to match all the loops and curls too, which is around about there. There might be a little bit of difference, but not very much. And now I'm going to just cut off the top of the original fabric. Now I have 2 pieces with matched patterns to work with on 2 of the chairs. Before I start attaching the fabric to the chairs, I need to mark the center of the pattern. Now I know that on this particular fabric we have a couple of inches here without any pattern on at all. So I'm going to overlay the pattern fabric by about 1 inch. This should allow the fabric to hide underneath the seat and not show at all. So I lay that out. I'm going to put my little V-neck top and bottom, and then I'm going to do it on the sides as well. So just fold the fabric again into half and do either side. Piece of the chair seat, I'm going to mark the center, front and back, and then I'm going to measure down and work out where the centers are on either side. I'm going to repeat this on the second seat. So I'm going to move that back so it is at 14.5. It looks even across the back. So that is 7 1/4. And the same on here. I'm going to just pull it back to the widest point, which looks just under 20 inches. So that would be just shy of 10 inches here. Just mark it. We've got plenty of fabric, so I'm going to just draw a line all the way across the center there. And I'm going to measure the sides on that side, and again I'm just going to draw my line all the way across. And I've dissected the chair. I'm going to look at the fabric and decide which way it goes up. There's usually a rule of thumb. We know that the selvage is usually at the side, so we're going to pop that down. And we usually have flowers go up and leaves often go down, so, but this is a little bit awkward, so I'm just going to choose that this flower is going up and these leaves are going down. So hopefully this part will be in the center, or it's close to the center of this chair and on all of the other chairs when we're done. So I lay the fabric down, face down, with a layer of the dacron or polyester wrap, the foam and the dissected seat. I'm going to pull over the sides, and this one it meets, but it barely meets, and that's okay. So I'm going to roll up the side, not too tight, just enough to fold over the top, and it meets. Got a little bit of coverage there. I'm not going to worry too much at the moment. The sides are usually the last bits to go in, but I will staple it to mark it. Then I'm going to wrap up the other side and make sure that this is even, the up and down. And here again, it's not too important, but I'm going to just pull it up, and here we have a little bit of the side seam that we want to hide. So these are markers, they come out later. And it doesn't matter whether you do the front or the back, but I'm going to roll up the back. I'm going to pull it right up here. I'm not going to cut anything back just yet. And I'm going to pop that one on there, and I'm going to do the same with the front. So I'll turn it this way. As I roll it, this will come to the base of the chair. So this will come here too. Roll it up and mark that too. I want to see where the pattern of this falls, so let's have a look. Well, I said that hopefully that would fall in, and it's more or less there. Is a little bit high for me, but I'm thinking that's going to pop the back in first, which actually means this might all pull forward slightly, but if it doesn't, that's okay. And then I will do the sides. Marker pins always come out, and even the ones that you want to go in stay often come out too. So upholstery is one of those projects that you work on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the fabric down using my hands. My hand kind of fits like that over the top, front and back. Yeah, pull that down, follow this down the center and mark. I have a leaf coming down here and a leaf here, leaves coming out here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this fabric down and bring that leaf in line with the top of the chair. That's going to be my starter mark. It will change, and then on the other side I'm going to bring that leaf that I was talking down here and out, and I'm going to eyeball along here. So I'm actually going to make this leaf come in and this swirl come down. And there we have the pattern coming in nicely. Now at the front, I'm going to remove my pin, my tack mark, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to pull fabric down tight, a little bit tighter than I did on the back. This follows the line here, and I'm going to just mark it in here. Then I'm going to pull the sides out slightly. I have a swirl here which matches this swirl here. So I'm going to pull this side out first. I'm going to push the fabric down with my hands down and out towards the side. And as I do that, this rolls in quite nicely. So I'm going to actually bring it to this mark here. So I'm going to make this even. Okay. Now on the other side, this leaf is here. so I'm going to pull that one down too. So I'm going to pull it out, I smooth it with my hand, smooth it, smooth it, smooth it, until that too, oops, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. That too is almost there, so I'm going to put that one in here. I'm going to look at that to make sure I'm happy with it. You will see that it has a rippling effect, and we want to get rid of that. So I'm going to take out the staples, these ones here, and pull it tighter and smoother. We don't need to take these ones out, I'm happy with those, it's just the center. So let's get that. This is the advantage of using just short staples. They don't go in so far. Now I'm going to pull this down a little bit tighter, like that. And then I'm going to pull in this a little bit. And as I pull, I notice that that doesn't allow me to go across, so that's fine. I'll take that one out in a minute. I can see where the stitches go, so I'm going to just pull that in tight. I forgot to take that one out, that's okay. Okay, so I pull that one in tighter, like that. And when you pull down, but you kind of pull across. And I'm going to have to take this one out because as I've gone across, this one is now not in line. It just needs to be moved slightly. And this looks a lot smoother than it did. So let's get that one out. Now this leaf comes in better here. And as I pull, it actually starts bringing this down into the corner. So let's see what we can do there. That's the corner. I'm going to bring that leaf that I had up here further down. I'm going to set that one in too, and now I'm going to do the same on the other side. We see we've got it smoother here already. There we go, that looks smooth. And with a bit of luck, this leaf here will pull in just like it did over there. So I'm going to take that out like that, and as I say, I'm going to pull. Use both hands if necessary. So pull it in and smooth it out. And yeah, this leaf does come in a bit better. So we'll just pull that in like that and secure along here. And you see it's already looking smoother. It bulges out because we haven't done anything there. Now I'm going to go back to the back side of here. Take the center ones out, and then I'm going to see if I can roll this fabric, smooth it out, to take out at least 1/2 inch. It pinches at the moment, but once it's in, it should have a corresponding flow here and here, but we'll have a look. Here we are. So I left these 2 markers in for the moment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this fabric over the top, smooth it out as best I can, taking up that slack, which brings me to this little pattern here. Just make sure that your nicks actually still correspond here. That's the most important part. So let me pull that back in. I'm going to smooth that out to the side like I did at the front. And I'm going to take this one out so that I can take it right in. I've secured this pin over slightly, and as you can see there's a little bit of wadding left over, so I'm going to nip that out like this so it's level with the base of the. We don't have to worry too much at the other end at the moment, it's still there. And we're going to ease this fabric in, so I'm going to pop it under my arm, and as I come forward I need to get as much of this pattern that's not on here underneath. So I'm going to push that here. See, it's almost there. And then I'm going to staple that into place. Nobody will ever notice because I'm going to be putting some trim. So now I can come back and take this one out in a second. So I'm going to put that under there. This runs here, and I'll take this one out and then just run it all the way back. You can take out any extra wadding that you need to at that point. I'm going to use my hand and I'm going to pull that back. This comes underneath, and just pull it in at an angle. This one you don't have to kind of pull down and back, you just got to pull it over so it's secure. Then you repeat that on the other side. And then we're going to roll it with our fingers, which should bring it forward slightly like it did on the other side. And then we're going to just staple that, and we're going to roll it to the back first just to secure it. Usually finish about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches in from the outside edge. Keep that continuity going. As we move forward from here, we can undo this one. Here we don't have so much dacron over it, so it's not so important to cut back. So let's pull that over, pulling and pushing. Turn over, we can just pull that into. And here again, here's the end of the chair, and so we only want to go about 2 inches in. Now to get the corners in. We're going to pull this fabric back here, and the dacron across the top is going in fine, but it's a little bit lumpy. So what we're going to do, cut, and I would cut up into a little bit of a V. That's going to smooth out anyway and in. I usually do the sides first and then the back, but I like to see where it's going to line up. So that's where I need to be pulling it to. And pop it on its back and pull it forward, and you can see if I pull it, it smooths into that corner, which is what we want. But I don't want all of this fabric going into the back, so what I do is I pull it forward to there and hold it. And then with my fingers, I pull a little pleat in. If you don't have to, then don't worry about it. Some fabrics you need to, others you don't. Pull it in with my fingers so it's nice and straight, and then I'm going to pull again and pull another little pleat in just to bring the fabric forward. And then pulling the fabric back into the corner so I can see where it goes. I'm just going to pull it in and into this corner like diagonally across, and I'm going to just finish. Got about an inch to go. Pull it into a 45-degree angle and pin, and do the same thing but going the other way. Pull it out first because I need the pleats to go in smoothly. So put another one there. I don't want the pleats to be showing on the top, so you've got to be really careful about that. Not that they're really going to notice because the back of the chair's there, but I will notice. So there's my first pleat. Wriggle it in a bit and see if I can get another little ripply pleat there. I think that's going to work. See what we can cut back before we put the last ones in. Here I'm going to pull it down and put another little ripply pleat in. Actually, I don't think I do. I think I can just go in at the 45-degree angle because the fabric starts turning. And here, pull it back that way, put your fingers in, and then pull the fabric over the top, and you should have a really neat folded corner here, and then this goes underneath but not far enough forward to be a problem to anything, and then just staple. And if you look at here, it curves round. I think we'll be quite pleased with that. We can make alterations along the sides if we feel it's too pulled in, but I think it's going to be fine. Now for the front. Pull the fabric, into the corner and see what's going on. And there's quite a bit of fabric, quite a bit of the wadding here that needs to be taken out. So let's trim that back. Now this one I'm going to take into the corner like that to see where it lies. Pull the fabric round and it starts to straighten out on the sides because you're going around a curve. And because you're going around a curve, you really need to make sure that you have those little pleats in a little bit ahead of time to take up the slackness. So here goes. The first one, push that down, and then the fabric goes where it wants to go. So let's put our staple in there to hold, and then we'll go again. We'll push all the fabric into the corner there. See where that pleat goes there. So we're going to put our staple there. We're going to push again and see where everything goes. Now this one needs a little bit of wriggling because I don't want the pleat on this fabric. I want it more on the thicker weave fabric. So I push that over, put it down, put my fabric here. This all has to go in somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing that in here. So I'm going to put my little pleat, pull this from here back slightly, push that into the corner or the rounded edge, pleat it, put my stabilizer staple here, and then I'm going to do this again. I'm going to pull it down and back like that. Hopefully that will all go in a sag. So you see I've pulled it down and across. Yeah, you see it's going to have another pleat here. So I'm going to just pull that down there and across, take all that fabric out. Now because it's two different kinds of fabric, it's doing its own thing, so that's okay. I'm going to take that as smoothly as I can down with a little pleat here. Now we're going to do the second cover. It matches the pattern. The leaf is going down and the flower is going up, so I'm going to pop that there. I'm going to line up all of the nicks with the rest of the chair. The side one's going first, so I'm just going to pull this one over along this line. The second side comes over. I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter from the top down. Unfortunately we don't have a line going all the way across, so I'm just going to eyeball where that is. In the front I'm just going to eyeball where that line would be going from here across. Okay, check that the pattern is where I want it to be. Flowers at the top and our leaves going down, and it looks pretty much even. Now this chair seat is about an inch smaller front to back, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn both of them over. This kind of helps do things quicker on each of them. So we're going to do them in tandem, and I'm going to turn this over so I can actually see where the pattern lies on this one, and I'll match it up on here. And the back will change slightly, but not very much. This has a slight serpentine edge to it, so the front will not match exactly on both chairs, but it'll be pretty close. And I'm going to undo this first staple, pull this up, and the chair front goes through this flower. I'm not sure if I can pull that down quite that far, but we'll have a go. And that follows through the arrow. Now I'm going to go along. The pattern needs to be pulled in almost identically on both sides. So I'm going to pull this through. This one, the swells come up, which brings it to about here. Takes me a little minute to change the shape of the chair from one direction to another. And then we'll just pull this down and let it follow the serpentine edge. And now I shall do this side exactly the same way. I'm going to pull it down so that this shape is here on this side. It will change slightly because the pattern has to follow here and then follow on this side, so it's not too different. And then smooth it out. Now I'm going to do along the back. So removing the back staple. Sometimes you have to lift one chair up against the other to actually get it, but there's a flower here and here. I want it to be as close to this pattern coming up on this one. So I'm going to have to really pull it in so that this is almost on the back fold of the chair here. As with the other chair seat, just trim back the excess fabric, ripple it in and staple in place, and work along the top edge or the back edge, bringing that in as well. By taking the extra fabric out, you shouldn't have too much of the fabric folding on to itself. And here we go again. Right in at a 45-degree angle. And then this should fold over the top. And if it doesn't fold in nicely, just make a little pleat at the corner. And that should take any extra fabric in like that. And we'll just staple that down. Working our way to the front here, I'm just going to pull this in. I don't have very much of a turning on this side. As I said, it's a deeper seat cushion than that with everything. And I'm going to trim this back like I did on the other ones. I need to smooth it again into a corner, so that just takes a little bit of working. So we can put little pleats in if need be. So this front, we've followed the serpentine area. We probably won't need very many pleats in here, but always be aware that if you need to put them in, you just put them in. The serpentine edge might actually take some of it in, although as we go around this corner, maybe not. So let's pop that in and pull that back. As I say, I'm going back to the centre of the chair here, but this edge is always the last one to go in. So take it to about an inch from the corner, and it looks like I'm going to have to go back, take these ones out, because this looks like it's going to wrinkle too much on the side here, which I don't want it to do. I think I'll do it from the top of the chair rather than the way I was showing you, because it's rather high. I can't see very well that close. Use my hand to smooth the fabric in. And usually I just lift it up slightly so I can really see how the edge is going. And there. I'm going to go up again, smooth it in with my hand, pulling towards me, pinch it with my fingers, put some of the dacron wrap out, and then, as I say, pull it towards me and into the chair. Always need to pinch my fingers against there. I'm going to pull this corner in as best I can. I'm going to pull it to and around, and the reason you do that is so that it smooths as it goes around this rounded edge. Staple you put in, you can put it more towards the centre of the chair, and it looks like I'm going to have to move these and pull these in too. That's okay. I'm going to just trim a little bit more fabric back so I don't have a huge amount in the corner. Yeah, I'm going to just pull this in a little bit tighter here, so I'm going to take out about 3 inches. I'm pulling it slightly tighter into that corner. Now it looks like it will pleat nicer. Just a couple. Maybe they just needed to be a little bit deeper than the ones I'd already put in. I'm going to pull it really tight in to this corner. I'm going to hold on to the fabric as tightly as I can and just put it. And now, as before, if I pull it into the corner like that and spread this pleat out either way, it should look nice. And now we have matching chair seats. I'm going to show you how to make some piping so we can trim the bottom edges and then put the bottom cloth on. So I lay this out flat and using my yardstick, I'm going to cut strips of fabric 2 inches wide, and I'm going to cut 3 pieces because I think it will be 1 and a bit going round, certainly not 1 1/2. So there, do that and then move up forward and again cut to your 2 inch mark like this. I originally cut out 3 lengths for the piping, and when I looked at the chair I discovered that I only need to put it on the 3 outside faces, and so 1 each will do, and so that won't take a minute. Now what I do use is a piping foot. It is, I will draw a picture of it, but it's flat on one side and then it has a groove taken out of it here so that the piping follows through. It makes piping very much easier to do. So let me put this together. When making welt cord, lay the cording across the center of the fabric and fold it. Make sure that the exposed fabric is actually the right side. This fabric doesn't matter, it's the same both sides, it's an equal weave. Set it about 1 inch in from the back, slip it underneath the piping foot, extend the stitch to a number 5 or the longest you've got on your machine, and start sewing all the way to the end. I shall do this for both pieces, but if you need to join piping, cut both sides, the piping that's already in place and the new piping at about a 45-degree angle, and butt them together. So as you get closer, I'll pop this in. Now I'm going to butt this one hard up against the other one. You butt it so it keeps the same amount of piping or welt cord in place. So when I rub my finger across there, there's no lumps, bumps, it's a smooth joint. For this part of the process of attaching the welt cord, I'm going to use 1/2 inch staples. I'm going to start in this top corner and I'm going to run my finger down so that the welt cord is level with the side of the hard chair seat, not the soft. That should hold it in place. It should, when it's in place, just roll slightly. That's where I'm going to start it. And I'm going to work my way down on that edge. You don't need too many staples, you just need a staple every maybe 2 to 3 inches, because we're going to be building layers. Corner, there we are. It's going to rock up slightly on the inside, and that's acceptable. I don't want it to be too bulky, so just let them flow as they want to. And then work your way down the front border, the front edge, still making sure that it's level or as close to. Okay. As you come to the back of the chair, Let the cord run over about 1 inch, 2 centimeters will be fine. Trim off the excess and undo some stitches so that the cording itself is level with the back of the chair, and trim that off. Just pull the fabric back a little bit. Trim that off like that. Put your last staple as close to the edge as possible on the back of the chair, and then what we do is we fold the fabric back on itself. Just pin that in place as well, and then do the same on the other side where you start. I'm going to quickly repeat this on this chair. Exactly the same process. Start at the back and work all the way forward. For some people this is as far as they want to go. I actually prefer to put a fabric of some kind underneath, and in this case I'm going to use black cloth or bottom cloth. You don't have to use this. I have in the past used bright red chintz, purple chintzes, anything I've had left over. So what you do, you lay the fabric over the top like that and allow it to overlap maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch on all sides. Run your finger along there so you know where the edge of the chair is. And this is just a rough cut. This is nothing, you don't have to be perfect on this. Once that's done, you're going to do as you did before, which is to put a holding staple at the front. Roll this underneath so it's nice and tight. Pull it slightly towards the back, and again fold the fabric under. You can run it almost to the edge of the chair seat, just a little, maybe 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of a centimetre from the edge. That's perfectly fine. Then twist and, as I say, just fold the fabric over and put your side ones in. Having done that, I just work my way around all 4 sides, and if the chair is shaped like this, I tend to cut little V's up like you would in dressmaking. Just snick it, and that should allow the fabric to follow the course of the cording. As you come to the corner, take a little bit of the bulk out because it's not necessary, and just work the corner in as best you can. It's not going to be too much of a problem if it's wrong. The last part of these chair seats is to put the back tacking on. There's 2 reasons for doing it, and one is it makes things look neater. It's not absolutely necessary. But the other reason is it also helps to keep the piping in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start here at this end on this chair and start moving along the edge. And what I do is I keep it level with just the inside of the piping all the way around. This back tacking can be folded, although what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at an angle up here. So let's get there first. It won't quite go into the corner, so I'm just going to cut at a bit of an angle like that, which will take it into this rounded corner, and I'm going to tack it in. So there we go. Let's trim that piece off there. And then I'm going to twist the tacking over like that, and I'm going to just tack it into place first before I cut back. So I'm just going to go back towards that corner. Pop that off, and I'm going to just staple that in both sides. Repeat the same on the second chair. Now, what I didn't say is you don't have to put any along this back line because it's hidden by the chair and there's no piping there on this particular one. And the other thing is you can use 2 layers of cereal box provided you strip it up small. Make sure it follows the curve quite nicely. When the back tacking is in place, place the chair frame on top of the chair seat and make sure that everything is pushed in tight, otherwise there'll be a gap at the back here, and then just screw it into place. Now if you'd had a number of chairs, then obviously make sure that each chair frame has a number on corresponding to the chair seat that you're applying it to, because sometimes the screws won't line up. But seeing as this is the only chair I have of this style, I can put this in. And then also the other thing is press down on the chairs when you really tighten the screws in. It just ensures everything is secured. And now as you can see, the chair frame doesn't quite come to the edge of the chair seat. So now the piping shouldn't roll too far down, it should be quite stable. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you gained information from these 2 dining room chairs. Next video will be on the 2 remaining chairs, which are sprung chairs. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the bell button if you want to hear more from me. See you next time. Ciao. To be on these 2 seats here, they are loose. You how to create an eclectic look. What? The items you will need for the we have now got our, we now have our chair shapes. No. Now we have 2 seats and 2 sets of foam that are, right, here I am working across the front again. I'm going to pull it right back into the side. Oops, keep slipping, I'm not very strong today. As long as it looks nice. Which is weird, because you're never going to see this.